Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Um, Life is so incredibly beautiful. I just drank this. This is my favorite drink. Cayman Jack Margarita with lime juice and agave nectar. Nectar of the gods. Um, I drank that. Was like debating it. Haven't had one of them for a while. Felt like the right thing to do, so I did it. I do it. I go through the 8 brocades of qigong. Then I'm like, you know what? There's nothing. I don't have to be anywhere. Let me get a workout in. So I get another workout in. Great workout. I drive here. I light a blunt as I'm starting to leave, but it's like not going right. It was sitting in my bag, so it's like halfway, like a little unpeeled. It's not. So it goes out, and I'm like, I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm gonna pull over somewhere. I'll move my body a little bit to make sure that it doesn't get like all caught up with my like car seat vibes. I've spent so much time sitting in the seat that it's not great for my alignment. But but I get out and I pull over here. I'm like half a mile away from our apartments. Probably shouldn't say that. And I go over to stand in the grass here and I start just doing like circles with my shoulders, getting a little bit bigger, a little smaller. And this guy's about to step in his car. He like pops his head in here, I was like planning on going here. He pokes his head in the door, walks out. He's about to get in his car. He looks over and he's like, that something like, I like that. I don't know what it is, but I like the looks of that. Something like that. And I kind of like tell him to like walk towards him a little bit, and he walks over. And I said, I'm just breathing and moving my body. And he walks over and I'm like, I don't know. We just start talking. He starts telling me that he teaches Filipino martial arts, like the traditional Filipino martial arts. I tell him that I just got a workout in, so I'm like just trying to make sure that I was just trying to light this blunt real quick. But I tell him, I'm just trying to make sure that the blood doesn't get all pulled up, my balance is on point. And he pulls his shoulder. I said, because I got shoulder surgery, so I got to make sure it's on point. And he pulls up his sleeve and shows me he's got the scar. And I'm like, word, that makes perfect sense. And he tells me a story about how he was like having problems with it for a long time, and then he was like teaching somewhere, and somebody showed up, and the guy told him like, you should go with him. Like another guy said to the guy that showed up that he should go with the guy who I'm talking to right now. And the guy who I was talking to right now telling the story is like, yeah, I mean, I told him, like if you want a one-arm instructor, then I'm your guy. But so we asked him what's wrong with his shoulder. He tells him he's just been having problems with it for like 5 or 6 years, getting worse and worse. And the guy says, my brother or something like that is like the best shoulder specialist in all of New York. And he's like telling me the story, and he's like, thank you, God, was his reaction. Thank you, God. And so the guy, like, he went into his office, and the guy told him, like, well, we can't tell you what's wrong with your shoulder. I don't know if this is, like, best practices, but I guess he's kind of the shit as a shoulder doctor. So he told him, like, we can't tell you exactly what's wrong with it, but if you let me go, if you trust me, then I'll go in there and I'll find it and I'll fix it. And he's like, I'm about it. And so the guy fixes his shoulder, the labrum's torn up, the rotator cuff, just boxing, all this shit. So he said he got the surgery. His shoulder's on point now. God is love, man. So I started talking about yoga. I started talking about, I tell him a little, how I first got the injury, how I healed it back up and then injured it again. I didn't tell him I fell off a surfboard a couple months ago. Anyways, and then I told him about yoga because he's, probably like 50 or 60, and he's still teaching boxing and martial arts and all that. And he tells me that somehow we get to the point where he tells me that his daughter, I think, what? I think he said his daughter was like a high-level competitive wrestler, but she got a concussion last year, and then COVID hit, so she's been out for a while, and her flexibility isn't good, so he was kind of thinking about yoga, and I told him, I didn't do yoga in a class or a studio. I did it for like 2 years without ever stepping foot in a class or a studio. And just go on YouTube. Just go on YouTube. And then he told me that she was having some issues with her flexibility, and his wife had come out, and she was sitting in the car, and a couple times she opened. It wasn't a long conversation, but she was ready to go. I guess she opened the door and stuck her head out and saw us, but his back was to her, so he didn't know. I was like, you got to be patient because God is doing his thing. And he's about to walk away, and I told him, listen, man, as far as your daughter, if you can remember this, I promise you it'll be worth it. Look up yoga for neck and shoulder pain on YouTube. It's a 17-minute video. It helped me so much with my shoulder. I always feel amazing after I do it. Yoga for neck and shoulder pain. If you can remember that. And he was like, I got it. I'll look it up. And then, gave him a fist bump, sent him on his way, said a prayer, filmed a video, got his love. Oh.